I think I was describing like Valentine's Day, not a critical listening experience. But yeah, I mean, is there a difference? Like, do you not treat yourself like it's Valentine's Day when you want to listen to something critically? Anyway,
A little bit. Yes, you
a
do.
little bit, yeah. I'm going to listen to some Seal. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Carl.
I am glad to see you, and I'm sorry I made you scramble because I, as a typical American, I kind of forgot that our daylight savings time changes at a different time than other places,
Yeah.
and the world doesn't revolve around us.
Yes, that's exactly right. Well said.
Yes. So
It's all
I
good,
didn't
man.
mean to scare you by being like, "Hey, I'm in the waiting room for Riverside. Let's do this episode." And you're like, "I thought I had another hour," but I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, it
And
totally worked out. I mean,
works out better
it's
for
good.
you.
It means I get home an hour earlier, so that's good for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Carl, it's good to see you, man.
You too. You too. I'm very glad that we had that kind of lull a couple months ago, and then we had like a little micro lull after that. But I feel like we're kind of back into like a general
Yes.
swing of things, and I'm glad to see your face every week.
Yeah, well, you moved houses, I moved studios, and things are starting to hit a rhythm, hit a routine. Not that life ever fully hits a routine when you have little kids and stuff, but it's still, things are like stable-ish,
Yeah, they're getting routinier.
They're getting routinier. I like that.
Yeah.
Not teenier, routinier.
Yes.
That's good. Amazing. Well, I thought I would tee up something. I don't know if this is going to go well, but I'm going to try.
We'll find out.
So I don't know. I've been feeling a little bit lack of inspiration recently, and I want to get back into inspired land. Like I want to be like, let's make music today. Let's try something new. And I've just been sort of, I've done so many things. Life is so tough. I don't feel like doing anything. If I have free time, I'm probably going to just space out and doom scroll or watch a YouTube video or whatever. Like, where's the inspiration, man? So I thought we'd freestyle this and talk about ways that we can get ourselves out of a funk and into an inspired zone. So, like, I don't know, how do we find inspiration, Carl? I want to ask you, if you're feeling like down and out, like, what's your go-to method for getting revved up about music?
So I have a fairly oversimplified answer for this. I feel like for a very long time, when I was not inspired, or I was just kind of like, in a funk, or, writer's block or producer's block, whatever you want to label it. I used to think, oh, well, if I just, challenge myself to make something, I'm just going to make something. It doesn't matter. I have no constraints. I'm just going to, go be myself. That usually ends up kind of making things worse in reality. It ends up kind of like just continuing that staring at a blank session kind of feeling, or maybe even worse, spending time on something just to like experiment with it, and then you're like, wow, this really sucks, and now I'm no closer to inspiration, and also I feel bad about my skills. It doesn't happen all the time, but I'm sure everybody listening has had that happen at least once. And it took me a long time for me, this is me personally, but it took a long time for me to kind of realize that when I need inspiration, or when I'm feeling stuck, or I'm feeling like I've, plateaued or whatever, I think my instinct is to try to create something and try to create something new. But what I found is that for me, what actually inspires me is to stop worrying about what I'm creating and just try to take new things in. So that's when I try to go into like I don't even necessarily say like deep listening mode, but just like I try to find music I've never heard of, and try to find styles I don't know, and just try to absorb it and appreciate it. And not necessarily because I want to pick it apart and learn everything about it and try to make a new style of music. Like the end goal is not for me to hear something new and then like as an experiment to like shake things up, try to make it myself. It's just purely to try to find something I've never heard before that kind of sparks those, that little fire again that is really what got me into doing music in the first place. Like you don't get into music because you've created first and then you discover that other people make music. You know what I mean? Like you're a listener first, you're a fan first. And then you start to become the creative and the technician and like all the different things. So I think I found for myself, if I'm stuck and I want to try to find inspiration, find something new, I need to like really go back to the basics. And for me, like I used to think that creating something without any limitations was the basics, but I think I have to go even further back to just listening. Whether it's putting on the New Music Friday playlist that is, obviously going to be songs I've probably never heard, but also a lot of artists and a lot of styles that I've never listened to before. Or just, I think I will say, trying to do this at first, at least, through like a Spotify playlist, like an editorial playlist, I found helps me because you could also say, well, what if I just scroll through Instagram and look for artists? Like you can very easily get pulled out of looking for cool music and getting inspired by cool music and start going down a rabbit hole of doom scrolling. So this is like trying to keep myself, I'm kind of like forcing myself to listen to new music and not allowing myself to get distracted by the non-music things that are on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube and that. And it's just try to just pull myself back to that kind of pure childlike state of hearing something new for the first time. And then when something grabs my attention and like my eyes light up the same way that they lit up when I was in my uncle's basement the very first time that I heard Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Like I want to try to have that kind of a feeling when I'm 39, when I'm 40, when I'm 45, when I'm 55, when I live to be the first person to be 120 years old. Even though I'm going to be like a useless vegetable that just complains about.
You never know, man. By then we may have developed all kinds of crazy medicines.
Yeah. I'll still be there in my recliner chair complaining about producers that use profile pictures of the back of their head in front of a console. That'll be like my
still relevant.
Stop telling your war stories, Grandpa. That'll be like my equivalent of that. But yeah, that's what I try to do. I just try to, I can't inspire myself. I think that's a very
right.
A very humbling thing that I needed to come to terms with. And I'm not going to force inspiration. I'm not going to create inspiration for myself. I need to find it through somebody else's music.
Yeah. That was my hunch also. Like my hunch is like, oh, let's just make something, even though that makes sense, that will inspire you, and you'll like one thing will lead to another. But it's hard to just do that, if you don't have anything. It's really like kind of jumping into a cold body of water when you don't want to, sometimes. And it shouldn't be, but it is. And then like the reason why we got into this is because we fell in love with something that was coming out of a speaker. And finding new music is really I find it super inspiring. And I need more of it, and I need to find more of it.
And I'm gonna this might be a hot take, and I might ruffle some feathers to listeners, and I apologize in advance. I still love you. I think the saddest thing I can hear from a producer or engineer is that they don't listen to new music. They only listen to the stuff that they're working on. I think that, to me, this is, again, my hot take. You can disagree with me. I still love you. But the way that I look at it is, if I ever get to that point, and I've been at that point before, and if I get to that point again, then I feel like that's completely disconnected me from what got me into music in the first place. So if you have that kind of experience, if you're somebody that, doesn't listen to new music, they just listen to the stuff that they're working on, I think you'll be able to kind of, I think, rediscover a little bit of the childlike wonder if you go out of your way to try to find some new music.
And new music, for the record, could be old music, right? I was actually listening to an interesting interview with with Rick Rubin. He's saying like most of what he listens to now is like stuff from that's really old, but he just hasn't heard yet, like 60s psychedelic or jazz or whatever. But he's still listening to new music, right? Like,
yeah, I think new to you, is important, is the most important thing.
Yeah, I think also it's like a thing like when you hit your 30s or whatever. I don't know what age it is that people just kind of stop listening to stuff that's new, and like I'm just like realizing like, oh fuck, I'm so old. Like everything I love was made 20 years ago. Like what the fuck? How is this like the John Mayer record we were talking about, Continuum? Like that's like literally almost 20 years old. That's crazy. That's insane. That was new. That was just new. I was in college. Whatever. Like. How is like In Rainbows almost 20 years old? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I remember standing in line and buying that at Tower Records.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Tower Records when that existed back in the good old days. But it's a problem, and it's like it's very hard as life goes on and you get older to sort of be open-minded enough to listen to new music and to. I think for maybe you're weird that you like doing that, but I think most people it's a conscientious effort if you want to listen to new stuff. Once you hit a certain age.
Yeah, but and I think like for the general population, like I totally get it. You know what I mean? And I think like maybe this, if you want to look at it from a philosophical standpoint, you could say, oh, we listen to the music from our our formative years because we have all these like nostalgic memories associated with them, right? I like making new memories. I like associating music and experiences with new memories too. I don't want to just only have memories from when I was in high school. You know what I mean? Especially in music, which is like what I listen to and do like all day, every day. It's what drives me as a creative. But I'll say like for example, I want to go back to the whole like new to you stuff. There are certain bands that I've heard the names of a gazillion times. I just have never taken the chance to listen to them. Never just sat down and listened. And this was 2 weeks ago now. I by the time this episode comes out, I think I talked in the previous episode about how I recently got diagnosed with ADHD, which is no surprise to literally anybody. But I started taking Adderall for it, and it's been so helpful and adding so much like clarity to my day. It's been unreal. But the first full day that I had it, I was also at home with my daughter that day. It was one of my days off during the week. So I only usually work 4 days a week. And I remember when I was hanging out with my daughter, who's almost 2, and I finally decided, you know what? I have a couple students and some friends that have worked with King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and I've never listened to them. I'm going to check them out. And I just went on Spotify, hit play, and I have pretty much not stopped listening to them for like a week and a half. Because
repeat the name of that band.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. You should absolutely check them out.
And got it.
Yeah. And for anybody that's listening, and you're like, if you're a big,
they're from Melbourne.
Yeah, I think they're Giz Heads. I think they call it. I'm super new to this. Don't haze me. But I think it's super interesting because they put out, I think like 20 albums since 2010, something crazy. They did I think 5 albums in 2022, like full lengths. And they just had this really like it's very experimental, and like every album is its own kind of like thing, and they just like deep dive into like a particular like style or concept, and it's really, really good. And it's not just like experimental for experimental sake, because I spent a lot of years in that world, like doing like New York avant-garde jazz stuff. Mm-hmm. This is like really, really fucking good. And I'm really kind of mad at myself for taking so long to finally like check them out, because that's been really inspiring to me. And that's a perfect example of like, I'm 39, finding an artist that like I now like am really, really diving into and really loving. But, not only am I, I'm definitely past the average age of when people stop seeking out new music. And also some of the albums are from like 2012, 2014 that I'm really getting into. So it's new to me at, a later age. And also it's just really good and really fun. And my oldest daughter started like singing along some of the songs in the car, which is really fun and weird. But that's a perfect example of, finding something that is, new to us, but not necessarily new.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, who were some artists that you've known about or known of, and everybody's told you to check them out and you just never have? There's got
Wow.
to be some.
I just like you're really asking me without any forethought here.
To be fair, this was your idea.
It was my idea. I didn't tell you to ask me which.
Oh no,
which
no, 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 no!
artists.
Wait! Don't. I'm just saying. You before we hit record, you were like, "I've got a question I want to ask you, but I don't want to wait till we hit record." And
Okay. Here's like a band I've never like actually dug into, like the Black Keys. I've heard a lot of their songs, but I've actually never really listened, carefully to any of their records. That's like one example.
Yeah. Okay. What about like? But you've heard some of their stuff. Like, what about a band that you've never knowingly heard?
A band that I've never knowingly heard. Man, there's probably so many. I don't know. Until recently, I would say, but it's not actually true because I have heard some of it. Like Tool, I'd only listened to like a couple songs until, I don't know, a month ago, and I listened to a few more songs because my friend shared it with me. I haven't heard any songs. That's really hard. That's a tough question. But obviously there's probably hundreds of thousands or millions of songs.
Well, okay. How about this? So let's specify the constraints of this question. Okay, so it's an artist that maybe you've heard. I'll say you've heard one song by them. One song or less. Like if they had like a big single, but you don't know anything else about them, but you've had friends that have specifically said, "Oh my God, you need to check these guys out. All their stuff is really good." Maybe even like, "Oh, that single, like that's crap." Like, but listen to their third album.
I feel like I have to go on Spotify now.
Okay, I mean, I can think of another one for me that I need to do. This will probably be my next homework assignment for myself. Fugazi is another one that like I've heard. Like,
isn't Fugazi like a genre also, or it's a straight up band?
It's a band.
Okay.
I think you're thinking like shoegaze.
Oh yeah, shoegaze. That's right.
Shoegaze. Like a hardcore like punk band that there's no reason why I don't listen to them or know them or love them. You know what I mean? Like they from what I've heard, they check all the boxes, but for some reason, I think this is what happens to me a lot. There will be, somebody will tell me to check out a band, and I'm just not in a situation where I can physically listen to music. Like maybe we're like at a restaurant or at a bar or something, or we're hanging out and they're telling me, and I just like can't pull my phone out and start listening to a song. Or I'm in a situation where I can just listen to anything in the world, and that band name just isn't the one that comes to mind. And I just kind of forget that I was supposed to listen to them. And then just like right now is when Fugazi comes up in conversation, but I can't just like stop and,
pull it out.
Interrupt this podcast and just like go in a deep dive on Fugazi and then like kick back into the podcast. So like I feel like that happens to me a lot.
Here's a perfect example. I just found one. I don't know if you know about the Tragically Hip, but they're like the biggest Canadian rock band of all time, basically, that nobody knows about in America or other countries other than Canada. Like Rush, everybody knows about Rush, right? But Tragically Hip stayed in Canada. And my brother-in-law is a massive fan because, my wife is Canadian. So this is like, I just never actually gave it more than like half a listen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So maybe it's worth, that would be a perfect example of something that like has come up a trillion times and I haven't actually gotten into it, Yeah.
Okay. Well, that'll be your drive home listening music.
The Tragically Hip. Let's put it on.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of these. And I think this will be something where, I want to make a distinction too, when we're talking about how we find inspiration, and I keep on going back to listening to new music, whether that's 2025 new music or that's 1997 but new to Ben music. As hard as it is, if you can listen to it casually, like as a listener, cool. I usually play it on either my phone speakers or like I have a little like crappy sound bar that I just play through Bluetooth because I know it doesn't sound good, but like then I can it frustrates me to try to listen to it academically and like pick things apart. So I give up and I just like listen as a listener. But I feel like, don't get mad at yourself if you can't just listen casually. Because if you are learning from it, if you are like, oh, I really like this, I really like what they did here. Oh, I really don't like this. Like, I say that's still kind of like, that still will help you and it'll still be interesting and inspiring.
Right.
You're gonna
It'll get in there a little bit somehow.
But I would just say, like, don't actively think, oh, I need to make this like a critical listening exercise. Like, it can just be on your phone. It can be in the car. It can be on a little shitty Bluetooth speaker out in the yard. Like, I love doing it while I'm mowing the lawn. I have my headphones on. I have a little, crappy electric mower, so it's not super loud. And just, listen to new stuff then, because I'm like, I'm not sitting in a perfectly acoustically treated room, with candles and like the lights dim. Like, it's not, like I think I was describing like Valentine's Day, not a critical listening experience. But yeah, is there a difference? Like, do you not treat yourself like it's Valentine's Day when you want to listen to something critically? Anyway,
a little bit, yes, you do.
A little bit, yeah. I'm going to listen to some Seal. But no, I think like that's a good way to do it. It's just like, because when you grew up, when you first discovered music that really grabbed your attention, it didn't grab your attention because you knew a ton about music and acoustics and you had it and you were like really impressed by the smoothness of the guitar reverb tail. Like, you heard it as a normal person,
Yeah.
So that's yeah. Make sure you're listening to music as a normal person outside of your studio.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just been so many artists recommended on this podcast, and when I'm like, and no, obviously I haven't heard any songs by them because there's just so many artists, and like you can't possibly know everything. There's so much more to explore.
Yeah. What would be fun, actually?
Yeah.
For this episode, in the show notes, you and I should make a playlist where we each maybe recommend 5 songs to each other / to the listener. So these are maybe a total of like 10 songs that we feel like if you don't know them, you should just hear this song.
Does it have to be an obscure song, or can it be like a popular song that you may just made that someone else just might not have heard of?
That's fine.
Either way.
Yeah, I would avoid if it's like so ridiculously popular that
like no Blinding Lights,
Yeah.
No Dua Lipa.
Yeah.
I got it.
But I would argue if you wanted to do something like Tommy Richmond or something that's like TikTok popular, but nobody's ever, like 99.999% of people have never heard more than like a 12-second clip of it. I'd allow you to do that, but I don't peg you as a viral TikTok music person.
No, so you're actually going to have to put that in your list to share with me. So there you go.
Okay, got it.
I think that's also like a good initiative also just to do with friends, just to continually share music with other people.
Yeah.
At the beginning of COVID, one of my buddies made like a WhatsApp group where it was just like an album a day and people would just share albums that, everybody would just share an album one person would share an album at the beginning of the day and then people would have a chance to listen to it. And like, I did get exposed to some more new music and it was fun. And it was like a chance to like do something, while you were in isolation. That was a little bit out there. The other thing I was thinking about is that like, I have like an old school receiver in my living room and speakers, and they actually like I just need to like contact spray the thing and get it working again because it's basically stopped working. And there's like been less music in my life because of that. And I think keeping like a good a good place to listen to music in your home is really fun. Like I got like an old Bluetooth sound thing working and then stopped working because it was really old. But like for a couple of days I had that blasting and it was like just fun to listen to music with the kids in the house because it had been a while since everything's been so crazy here. But so I haven't had a chance to just get my life up and running properly.
Yeah.
And now I don't have a studio in the house also, so I don't have speakers in the home. So I really need to get this this setup going because I think that will definitely inspire and also lift the mood in the house. So I got to get back on it.
I agree. I'm going to fight you for a second, though.
Mm-hmm.
I see I'm not saying that you're doing this. I could see a lot of potential analogous situations to like, oh, I just see that like one more plugin and then I'll be done.
No, I'm not saying that.
Once I get that new preamp, I'll that new guitar pickup.
No,
So I'm just saying like, use your fucking phone, Ben. Start today. Don't wait till your thing works.
Yeah. But it's just like this thing that I have been like I've been thinking about doing and not doing. You know, like that thing that's on your to-do list, but it's so low down on your to-do list that you just never get to it. It's that.
Yeah.
And because I'm always listening to music in the studio and I'm in the car and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
I just never. But what happened was I used the contact spray to fix my bass amp because I had a little jam session here. And then I sprayed it in this RE20, which I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast before we started recording. And now that I've used the contact spray, I'm going to take it back home and hopefully fix up the Marantz. And then we'll have some nice tunes in the house. So one thing leads to another. And we're going back to that, ADHD episode of Time Management where the guy from Malcolm in the Middle says, what does it look like I'm doing?
Yes. Throw that back.
Does anybody remember that? I don't know.
I do. It's so good. Good old Hal. So I have an idea. This is like maybe like let's try this for a couple episodes. I think this would be good. I think for the next few episodes, each of us should recommend like 5 songs that the listener should listen to. Okay, cool. Let's be proactive, not just for ourselves. Like we'll be giving each other new music to listen to, but then also giving the listeners some stuff. And we can make like a simple, 10-song playlist, 5 songs from me, 5 songs from you. And we'll just accompany that. Let's try to get in the habit for ourselves of listening to more new music, but also, give our loyal fan base, you wonderful, silly humanoids, give you guys something to listen to as well.
Okay. Let's start a community around listening to new music and break out of old habits.
Yeah.
Get inspired.
Get inspired. Yeah. So here's what we're going to do, Ben. We are each going to list 5 songs that we want to put on this week's playlist. And these are songs that I think you should hear and that I think the listeners should hear. I want to be very clear. I am not saying, hey, these are the 5 songs that are going to inspire you to become the most successful producer in the history of sound. And also, I'm not trying to make it seem like you need to make these your favorite new bands. And if you don't, I hate you. Like that is obviously not the case. This is just like, here are some interesting sounds, interesting approaches to music that you may not have heard before. And if you did, maybe it'll be something that'll, re-spark a deep dive of your own.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off, the first one I'll do is that Tommy Richmond song, $1 Million Baby, the VHS version. So this is that one that was like big on TikTok, for like the 12 seconds of the song. But I think just sonically, there's just something really interesting and I don't know. It's a really interesting sonic landscape and super catchy, obviously. But I think there's just some like there's a whole lot of I don't give a fuck energy in the song, which I think is really I don't know. I think that should be inspiring if nothing else. And you don't have to like the song. You don't have to listen to it more than once. But I think like give it a shot just to like see what the vibe is and what they did to kind of get that vibe across.
Sweet. Okay. My first recommendation is going to be Tender Defender from the new Wolfpack record featuring Theo Katzman on vocals. This song has been stuck in my head since the record came out, I don't know, less than a week ago. So I've been totally jamming out to this. And former guest of the show, Noam Wallenberg, mixed it and mastered it, which is fun. And I just like can't stop listening to this song. It's so catchy. It's so fun. It's just like a great combination of like a melody and funk. So yeah, that's my first recommendation.
Okay, my second song is going to be The Zookeeper's Boy by Mew. So this is from 2005, but I think I first heard it in maybe '07 or '08, and it is just so weird, and it's like this beautiful combination of like odd phrases, really jangly guitars, and just incredibly memorable vocal production. Like it's
Sounds awesome.
it's I think they're Swedish. It's weird, but like in a really really good way, which obviously is my jam. So I think you should check them out.
Okay, amazing. My okay, this just like came up for me, and it's like a fun song for me um to share. "You Only Live Once" by The Strokes. If you haven't gotten into The Strokes, I think this is like a great song to get you into The Strokes. It's not like the first record where it's a little bit more lo-fi. This is like hi-fi production. I love the guitar parts. They're so melodic and they rock really hard, and it's just a really badass song. So
yeah, or I think like even if you have heard The Strokes, but you've only heard Last Night,
yes,
this will be
a
good one. Reptilia is really good too, but I think
is
it the same album?
That's
a different one.
am not sure. I don't think so. Maybe someone listening. Yeah, it's a different record. Yeah, different record. It's on. I think it's on their third record, their third album.
Gotcha.
I got some good ones to share.
Okay,
you're next.
Okay, the next one. This is going to be Francis and the Lights, "Just for Us." I first heard of Francis and the Lights a couple years ago, and it is just I don't know a ton about them, but I just know like every time I hear some of their songs, I'm just like in love with it. It's like this combination of a modern minimalist Peter Gabriel kind of thing. Like I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like if Phil Collins' attempt to be catchy was blended with Peter Gabriel's ability to make things catchy but also not corny. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I'm not sure I know what you mean, but I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, it's
just
really good.
80s throwback right here.
But it doesn't feel 80s. Like it has, I don't know. Like it's a really good job of like having that, but it doesn't having some vintage feel a little bit, but almost feels like vintage songwriting, but without it being on the nose, retro production. It's really good, really interesting.
Cool. I'm excited to check it out. It's hard to think of songs while also listening to what you're talking about, but I'm going to listen back to this and then I will get the full picture. Okay. I'm going to go old school with my next one. "Carolina in My Mind" by James Taylor. Come on, classic. It's just such a good example of like folk singer-songwriting in like the 70s.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful singing voice and production. So go check that out. If you haven't listened to James Taylor yet, get into James Taylor.
Yeah, that's a perfect one for me actually, because like obviously like I've known of James Taylor for a zillion years, and I probably listened to a whole bunch, but I've never just sat down and thought to myself, I want to listen to James Taylor right now. That's just not like what I grew up on, and so that's a perfect thing for me to check out. Yeah. Okay. Empire of the Sun, "Music on the Radio."
You were mentioning Empire on the Sun in a recent episode.
Yeah, they're so good. This new record's so good. It's playful and memorable, and also snarky, and also just gritty, and it's all the things that makes Carl a happy little boy. The song has that.
Okay, amazing. So my next recommendation is Regina Spektor, "Blue Lips," which is on the record "Far," which I feel like it's like not her most famous or popular record, but I really like it. It's like it's super well produced. I love the way the piano sounds, and the songwriting is amazing. So it's like just like really heartfelt melodies and quirky and interesting lyrics. So the whole record has that, but it's just like one song from that record called "Blue Lips." So if you haven't heard it, go check it out.
Okay. Oh, I got to do King Gizzard.
Yeah. Dude, totally.
Okay. So I will say, so Oddments was the one that it's great. So the album that I'm looking at is, okay, so so this is, can you see this? Okay.
Now I can.
Okay. Oddments, this is the one that I want to pull from, but like, these are the albums in chronological order. So these are all the albums since 2014. These are full-length albums
wow.
since 2014.
My God.
Right? Like it's wild. And like this one here, it sounds almost like a prog rock Motorhead. And then this one I want to pull up from the Oddments is almost like Unknown Mortal Orchestra, but like and like Unknown Mortal Orchestra and Wolfpack, but like way weirder and more distortion. Like it's so good. But the song see, let's do Hot Wax. Hot Wax would be the one that I want to do. That's the one that my daughter sings along to all the time. I think that'll be a good one.
Awesome.
So Hot Wax by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Amazing. My last recommendation is called Instant Psalm, and it's from the latest The Smile record, which is like the Radiohead break-off band. And the minute I heard the song, I was like into it. And like, you know, usually with you know, like Radiohead is like a slow build sort of band, but
yeah,
this song is just like a classic Tom ballad, I guess. I don't know. It's really good.
Perfect.
The new record is great, so everyone should check it out. Actually, really
awesome.
A really great record.
Okay, great. Yeah. No, thanks for sharing those, Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. We have homework now to listen to the new songs.
Yeah,
I'll send you my playlist. You send me your playlist.
Okay. and then we'll put the combined playlist into the show notes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. This is going straight to the WhatsApp.
Oh, great. Awesome. No, yeah. So I hope that helps. I hope that everybody listening can find some inspiration from some new tunes, and, you know, knowing that it's okay to get stuck and it's okay to feel uninspired. And I think, you know, just trying to go back to your roots as a listener, and not your roots. Let me rephrase that. I don't mean go back to your roots as a listener in the sense of listening to what you're comfortable with. I mean, try to harness that childlike curiosity and the feeling of hearing something that, you know, changes your brain, you know, the way that it did when we were, you know, 13 and hearing Downward Spiral for the first time or whatever.
Because I think the only way you can really grow is to input new things. You know, like if we keep digesting the same old crap, even if it's good crap, we're not going to grow. We're just going to like hone in. And if we want to grow, I think it's important for us to not just hone in, but also to grow, to learn outward and collect more soundscapes, because I think that will go further for us in terms of also just like whether it's making productions or mixing, like just getting ideas of like what things can sound like, not just what they should sound like.
Yeah. It'll make us more fearless too.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a very great characteristic that we should all strive to have.
Totally. Totally.
Well, yeah, on that note, that was a good episode. I had fun.
That was I got what I wanted out of this episode. I was like, Carl, I'm uninspired. Help me. Here's some good ideas. And now I want to do those ideas, and hopefully that will pull me into a new era of inspiration. So here's hoping. Awesome.
Dude, Ben, great seeing your smiling face today.
Likewise, Carl.
And sorry again about the daylight savings time surprise. But
surprise, it's morning.
Yeah. You're the man. I appreciate you so much. I will see you soon.
Yes, I think so.
Bye, Ben. Bye, Ben.
Bye, Carl.